ما في شك المملكة العربية السعودية كانت هدف رئيسي للمشاريع المتطرفة والمشاريع الإرهابية في أنحاء العالم. فيعني إذا أنا أسامة بن لادن وأبغى أنشر فكري المتطرف في العالم كله، وأبغى أنشر خصوصا بين المسلمين، وين أبدأ؟ أبدأ في الدولة اللي فيها قبلة المسلمين وفيها مقدسات المسلمين ويتوافد عليها حجاج المسلمين ويتوافد عليها المعتمرين ويتوجه إليها المسلمين 5 مرات في اليوم. إذا نجحت في نشر مشروعي هناك تلقائيا سوف ينتشر في أنحاء العالم. فكل فكر متطرف عندما يريد أن يبدأ بلا شك يستهدف المملكة العربية السعودية. كنا في مرحلة من المراحل، في مرحلة صعبة جدا، في يعني خلينا نقول من الخمسينات إلى السبعينات، المشروع العروبي والمشاريع الاشتراكية والشيوعية وغيرها من المشاريع في المنطقة اللي أعطت فرصة لكثير من الجماعات المتطرفة بأنها تدخل بشكل أو آخر من المملكة العربية السعودية وتصل إلى مواقع مختلفة سواء في الدولة أو في الاقتصاد إلى آخره. نتج عنها يعني عواقب لا تحمد عقباها، وشفنا أثرها في السنوات الماضية. اليوم ما نقدر ننمو، ما نقدر نجذب رؤوس أموال، ما نقدر نعمل سياحة، ما نقدر نتقدم بوجود فكر متطرف في المملكة العربية السعودية. إذا تبغى ملايين الوظائف، إذا تبغى بطالة تنزل، إذا تبغى الاقتصاد ينمو، إذا تبغى دخلك يتحسن، يجب أن تستأصل هذا المشروع لمصلحة دنيوية.
Things are undoubtedly changing in Saudi Arabia. Economy and daily life are shifting quickly. Saudi women have been allowed to drive, and cinemas are set to open again this year after a 35-year ban. The entertainment sector is bracing itself for a new era, one of concerts and cultural events. The country's regional role is growing. The kingdom is reducing its reliance on oil by investing in various projects to achieve the 2030 vision of turning Saudi Arabia into a hub connecting 3 continents. Led by King Salman and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, these action-oriented goals are within reach. A shift in foreign policy is reshaping the kingdom's role at regional and global levels. Key world partnerships are at the heart of this shift, mainly with the United Kingdom in the areas of trade, education and investment. Our long-standing relationship brings increased prosperity and security for both countries.
The history of Saudi Arabia as a nation-state began with the emergence of the Al-Ahsa dynasty in Central Arabia in 1744 and the subsequent establishment of the Emirate of Diriyah. Pre-Islamic Arabia, the territory that constitutes modern Saudi Arabia, was the site of several ancient cultures and civilizations. The prehistory of Saudi Arabia shows some of the earliest traces of human activity in the world. The world's second largest religion, Islam, emerged in modern-day Saudi Arabia. In the early 7th century, the Islamic prophet Muhammad united the population of Arabia and created a single Islamic religious polity. Following his departure in 632, his followers rapidly expanded the territory under Muslim rule beyond Arabia, conquering huge and unprecedented swathes of territory, from the Iberian Peninsula in the west to modern-day Pakistan in the east, in a matter of decades. Arab dynasties originating from modern-day Saudi Arabia founded the Rashidun, 632 to 661, Umayyad, 661 to 750, Abbasid, 750 to 1517, and Fatimid, 909 to 1171, Caliphate, states as well as numerous other dynasties in Asia, Africa and Europe. The area of modern-day Saudi Arabia formerly consisted of mainly 4 distinct historical regions: Hejaz, Najd and parts of eastern Arabia, Al-Ahsa, and southern Arabia, Asir. The modern Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was founded in 1932 by Abdulaziz bin Abdul Rahman, known in the West as Ibn Saud. Abdulaziz united the 4 regions into a single state through a series of conquests beginning in 1902 with the capture of Riyadh, the ancestral home of his family. Saudi Arabia has since been an absolute monarchy governed along Islamist lines. Saudi Arabia is sometimes called the land of the Two Holy Mosques, in reference to Al-Masjid al-Haram, in Mecca, and Al-Masjid an-Nabawi, in Medina, the 2 holiest places in Islam. Petroleum was discovered on the 3rd of March 1938 and followed up by several other finds in the eastern province. Saudi Arabia has since become the world's 2nd largest oil producer, behind the US, and the world's largest oil exporter, controlling the world's 2nd largest oil reserves and the 6th largest gas reserves. From 1902 until his death in 1953, Saudi Arabia's founding father Abdulaziz ruled the Emirate of Riyadh, 1902 to 1913, the Emirate of Najd and Hassa, 1913 to 1921, the Sultanate of Najd, 1921 to 1926, the Kingdom of Hejaz and Najd, 1926 to 1932, and as the King of Saudi Arabia, 1932 to 1953. Thereafter, 6 of his sons in succession have reigned over the kingdom. Saud, the immediate successor of Abdulaziz, faced opposition from most in the royal family and was eventually deposed. Faisal replaced Saud in 1964. Until his murder by a nephew in 1975, Faisal presided over a period of growth and modernization fueled by oil wealth. Saudi Arabia's role in the 1973 oil crisis and the subsequent rise in the price of oil dramatically increased the country's political significance and wealth. Khalid, Faisal's successor, resigned during the first major signs of dissent, the attack on the Grand Mosque by Islamist extremists. They temporarily seized control of the Grand Mosque in Mecca on 20th of November 1979. About 50,000 Muslims from across the world had gathered at the Grand Mosque for the dawn prayers present. Among them were 200-odd radical Islamists led by their leader Juhayma al-Otaibi. Al-Otaibi was a 40-year-old preacher. He believed that the Saudi monarchy had lost its legitimacy, that it had become corrupt in its imitation of the West. So he laid siege to the Grand Mosque and he called upon his followers to overthrow the House of Saud, the rulers of Saudi Arabia. It was a well-planned operation armed with handguns and rifles. The insurgents stayed at the mosque for 2 long weeks. They turned it into a killing zone. Khalid bin Abdulaziz Al Saud was the king of Saudi Arabia at the time 1979 and he declared these insurgents as apostates. He ordered an assault to wipe them out. Saudi forces with the help of the French military advisors ended the siege on the 4th of December 1979. It took 2 weeks. Around 117 of these insurgents were killed in gunfights, 63 others were executed. This included their leader Juhayman al-Otaibi. After the dust settled, Saudi Arabia took a giant leap towards Islamism. The Shia revolution in Iran further amplified its fears. The House of Saud suspected the end was near. In order to cement its authority in the Islamic world, it decided to portray itself as the protector of faith. How did it do this? By taking refuge in Wahhabism. The Saudi rulers renewed their ties with clerics, appointed them to important positions in governance such as in education and judiciary, and also religious guidance. Social reforms were rolled back, civil liberties were restricted. Strict dress codes were enforced on women and also were barred from almost all walks of life. To put it simply, Saudi Arabia went back in time. And it tried to propagate this Wahhabi tenets globally. The kingdom pumped millions of dollars in exporting its hardline brand of Islam. This gave rise to political Islam across West Asia. It changed the region's history forever. After that, Fahd became king in 1982. During his reign, Saudi Arabia became the largest oil producer in the world. However, internal tensions increased when the country allied itself with the United States and others in the Gulf War of 1991. In the early 2000s, the Islamist opposition to the regime carried out a series of terrorist attacks. Abdullah succeeded Fahd in 2005. He instituted a number of mild reforms to modernize many of the country's institutions and, to some extent, increased political participation. Salman became king in 2015. His son, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, effectively controls the government. Mohammed has been responsible for involving Saudi Arabia in a war in Yemen. He has overseen a number of legal and social reforms in the country, while also seeking to diversify the economy with Saudi Vision 2030.